I'm now gonna turn it over, and she's gonna kill me for introducing her like this, Dr. Michaelin Nicole, because she just received her PhD. So I'm gonna be calling her that from like now and forever. And so I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Michaelin Nicole. It's all yours.
I can't even slap you across the computer.
And that's why I'm doing it.
Okay. So I should share screen. I'm assuming 1 second. Okay. Aloha kakahiaka, everyone. My name is Michaelin Nicole, and there. Today we're going to be sharing a little bit more about the Native Hawaiian support services for students. I have a guest with me. Her name is Kiara Sumida, and I don't know how it comes on, so I guess we'll just keep going. First off, I just wanted to mahalo to the FYE team, because a lot of what we do is based off of what first year experience does. So I will be referring back to what they just shared, and a little bit more about why we exist as a Native Hawaiian support services unit, and how we kind of take it a step further for our Native Hawaiian students. First, and I also want to apologize because I'm outside and it gets loud sometimes, so I might have to take a break if like an ambulance is going by. So getting started. So again, I introduced myself, Michaelin Nicole. I'm the coordinator and counselor for the program. The program has been in existence for almost 6 years now, in its current iteration. So I have been with it since then, and we have Kiara.
Hi, my name is Kiara Sumida. I was a student with the Kapo oloku program, and I also became a peer mentor. I was a peer mentor for about 4 years. So yeah.
And she's currently, well, she will be graduating this current semester at UH Manoa with her degree in communication. So she's volunteering to come back and present with me today because she was bored at home. So usually we start our presentation with sharing some of the challenges that our first year Native Hawaiian students have shared with us. Over the years, we've kind of collected data, always wondering what are some of the challenges that they face. So we're just gonna go through that really quickly.
I'm overwhelmed by expectations.
I have a hard time staying committed to school because of my family and work commitments.
I don't like asking for help. Where do I even go?
I don't feel smart and I'm afraid of falling behind.
I don't have friends or a support system on campus.
I'm having a hard time adapting to college life and a different way of learning.
I don't have money for school.
I don't feel Hawaiian enough. So I'm gonna move into our mission statement real quick and we can go back to the challenges. So the Kapo oloku program for Native Hawaiian student success exists to ensure that Kapi olani Community College, KCC students and programs are equitable for students of Hawaiian ancestry. The program serves a solid foundation for students by reinforcing the importance of education by promoting personal growth and development within the social, community, and cultural context of Hawaii's history. So that's a mouthful, but really what we are here to do is just make sure that our Hawaiian students have access and all the services and programs are available and accessible to them in many ways. So like we said in the challenges, for instance, financial, that's a challenge for all students coming in. But we particularly want to make sure that our Hawaiian students are able to complete their FAFSA. We know there's a lot of challenges like Vicky shared with the Pacifica students. You know, there's parents unwilling to provide information or getting tax information. There's just so many obstacles that our students face. So we're here to just eliminate some of those barriers for them. Oops, hold on a second. Oh. So we're gonna share a little different than FYE. We're actually gonna share what our program looks like so you get a feel of what we do and how we kind of take care of our students as they come in. So we have 4 core values. They're Kahua foundation, Welina or welcoming, Kako being supportive, and Ohana family. we've tied those to 4 of our strategies that we do that we're gonna highlight today. So our new student orientation, which is strongly integrated into the FYE process. Building relationships with our students through our peer mentoring, which is what Kira is here. Our intrusive intervention, and then also our Hui system, which is really our bringing the students into our family. So wait, things are like jumping around. Okay, so first off, we did share earlier that we work really closely with the other programs, meaning like Kuile with Sheldon with high school outreach, Pahihi, the transfer year experience, which you'll hear from Shannon later, and also first year experience. So some of the strategies we do to set a solid foundation for students is visits, tours, and outreach. So Sheldon always works with us if there are, especially populations with higher Native Hawaiian populations, we work on visits, tours, and outreach in that area. We help students navigate the entire FYE process. So what really happens is FYE gives us a list of all the students who indicate that they are part Hawaiian right from the as soon as they're accepted. And we help facilitate them going through the process that FYE just outlined. So doing health clearances, if they're having challenges, we kind of are on them, like we call them constantly, like every week during the summer, and making sure if they want to come to Kapi olani that they're getting all these pieces done, because it can be very overwhelming, you know, from the start. Auntie Coco said getting their UH email all the way to completing to health clearances to registration. So we really hold their hand that entire way. Make sure they're looking at their email. You know, we are calling them and accessing them in different ways. So, and then another one is also FAFSA completion. So even if they've applied for Kapi olani, they haven't always, or majority of the time, they haven't done their FAFSA. So we are still trying to have them do that as well, so they can get their financial aid for the upcoming year. We have a strong role in NSO Part 3, which we're gonna talk about in a little bit. And then like all the other programs, we also have a summer bridge. So the students have huge opportunities to be in a summer bridge program, just depending. Like Mickey said, I think they should apply for all. I can give Sheldon our flyer later as well to send out to you folks. Obviously, we're focusing on Native Hawaiian students, and our approach is similar to Luna Lilo, but we don't necessarily have funding tied to that as well. So Luna Lilo is kind of like the first step, and then in terms, because they can get a scholarship, but other than that, we can provide the summer bridge class for students. I think I'm gonna move on to, so I mentioned the new student orientation. So what we do is at the Ho'opili, or Part 3 of NSO, we actually pull all of the Native Hawaiian students to a different track, and we meet with them separately. So one of the things we wanted to do was build relationships with our students right away. So coming in, we know it's very overwhelming, you know, from the summer all the way through orientations. So the thing we want to do is just make sure they know we're there for them. So we have 4 outcomes, which is getting to know us, know where where our office is, start their learning about their legacy, and then their motivation to start school. We introduce our namesake. Kapo oloku is an ali'i. She's Kapo oloku's sister. So we introduce her legacy, which is being a director of the Genealogical Society and promoting history and culture back in her time. So we ask them, what is their legacy and why are they in school? What is their like purpose? You know, what is their what's going to motivate them to continue when times get rough, right? So we really introduce this concept of legacy from the Hawaiian perspective and what it means for them. And we ask them at the end of the day, what is their legacy? And these are just some examples. So I think Sheldon I'll send the PowerPoint to him later so you guys can take a look at this closer. But some of the examples are finishing school to help my family and make them proud, to improve the future for the next generation of Hawaiians. So the legacy piece is one of our favorites and most important for us. So we highlight that throughout the orientation. As we mentioned through FYE, NSO is mandatory, so we've kind of capitalized on that in order to have the students come and they do a whole entire process with us. You can see all of us here on stage, sorry it's loud, where they're introduced to us and they're able to actually choose a hui or group that they're going to be a part of for the rest of their career at Kapi olani. So that's kind of what happens there. We only have half an hour, so I'm going to go slower. I'm going to go a little faster. And then just a foundation of why the program even exists, and we do show the students this, is because historically Native Hawaiian students in an aggregate perform not as well as other students. So even though that's an unfortunate statistic, we do share that in hopes that it'll light a fire under them, and also just the reality of our progress as Native Hawaiians in higher ed. We show a lot of gifts. So with the peer mentors' help, we always try to make it relevant to the students. So we try to meet them at their level. So there's a lot of gifts. The students put these in, and the students, participants love it. They're always like remembering some of these and whatever. So anyway, Kiara can talk more about that later. And I'll pass it to her.
Okay, so another one of our core values is Welina, or being welcoming. This is something that we find is really important, especially for our peer mentors. Our peer mentors are a very important part of the program because they are the front line and the people who really build relationships with the students. I know when I first started as a student, I was introduced right away to Michael, so I was comfortable with her, but when I was introduced to the peer mentors, it was just a little different talking to them because they were going through it, everything I was going through at the same time. They went through it before me, actually, so they were able to give me advice based on what they went through. So I found that really beneficial for me when I was a student, and I saw that when I was a peer mentor myself. Students gave me great feedback saying that they really enjoyed the peer mentoring and stuff like that. So in addition to that, we have a sense of place. This is a picture of the office, and it's supposed to be a place where students can come for studying, to relax, as kind of an escape, because maybe they don't know where to go on campus or they don't know anyone on campus. So we try to make it a comfortable place where they feel like they can come when they have nowhere else to go. And the office is in Kahua Olani Center with FYE and the other programs that were mentioned earlier. So it's great because we're so close to other resources, and it makes it easier for us to connect them to these resources and to kind of network with them as well. Okay, so the peer mentor program, as I said, is kind of a long process to get into, but it's so worth it. So we do have a hiring and training session that we have, and so every year all peer mentors need to reapply, which is something that's I think kind of unique. So basically a prerequisite is that you had to be a student in the program, just so you kind of know how it goes and everything like that. So there is an interview process. First, you turn in the application, then you get contacted to do a group interview where you can see it in the bottom picture there, where all of the applicants are together, and it's led by a lot of the counselors that you see here. They're the facilitators, and we go through different kinds of activities. This is just one of the ones where we had to be blindfolded, and we each had a number, and we had to like go in line without speaking, and it just kind of shows how we work as a team and how we problem solve. Then after that, if we get through that, we get invited to an individual interview with Michael, and she basically does a normal interview just like any other job. And if we get through that, then we get invited to training, which is a 40-hour 1-week training where we kind of have a crash course in how to be a peer mentor, which is why it's so important to be part of the program before, so you kind of know what's going to happen. But it's basically learning how to be a peer mentor. We have speakers coming in from financial aid, from all of these different programs, so that we know how to better assist the students. And then we also explore Hawaiian identity. So towards the end, I think, of the training, we have a session called Kai, where we go to the beach and we sit in a circle and we talk about whatever's on our hearts at the time. And we go into the ocean to kind of release everything, every worry that we have or anything like that, just to have a fresh start for the year.
Sorry.
Oh.
There.
And okay, so these are just some answers from our individual interviews with our peer mentors. And so the one that you can, again, when you get this PowerPoint, read through all of these, but I'm just going to read one. So I never knew the reality. Oh,
sorry.
It's okay. Of how I never knew the reality of how insecure people can be in their Hawaiianness. It really breaks my heart when I think about it, but it will definitely inspire me to be a better peer mentor. So this is Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like what we found was our favorite part of the training.
Yeah, like
Right?
your guys' reflections from training.
Yeah. So these are just a few testimonies to how beneficial the training was for us.
Thank you. Oh, something's wrong with my keyboard. Sorry, guys. Oh my gosh. How do I go back? Okay.
The arrow, maybe?
No, I know. I think
Oh.
something went in there. Okay. So our next core value is kako, or supportiveness. So Labashe mentioned it with Luna Lilo scholars, and we're similar as well. As we have intrusive intervention, which really means we, like we said earlier, we don't let them up. Kind of like during summer, we're calling them constantly. Even in the school year, like that's the whole benefit of having the peer mentors. Like even just for manpower, because they get assigned students, they have a case management, they have a load that they work with, and they have to call the students, make sure they're in touch. Of course, some students are kind of fall off, but our peers are always there. And we've actually had great testimony later where, in fact, Kiara was one day, like someone didn't call her back for like a whole year from August, and they called her in April, and they were like, oh, I've been getting all your emails and I need help right now. So even if they're not getting responses when they reach out monthly, they're still, the students know they're there, and so when they do need the help, they're coming back. So that's kind of what we go on, is making sure that they know we're there for them. So again, I'm not going to go through everything, but we do have a case management through the peer mentoring where they do frequent calls and check-ins. And I also did want to mention that we also administer the Native Hawaiian tuition waiver, which is part of our support as well. And that's probably of interest more for you guys, because you, for the high school counselors, you guys can help them to apply. So there's a slide on it later where is has the application and stuff. So
sorry, quick question. So similar
yeah.
to Eileen's question, is there an age limit or requirement, or can returning adults participate in your program?
Yeah, so we're completely open. We're like the most general support for Native Hawaiian students on campus. So what we actually try to get all the students when they enter. So we're gonna get them through FYE or Shannon through transfer or returning. We do miss a bunch in there sometimes if they just because they're just missing emails, but we send mass emails to all the accepted Native Hawaiian students every semester. So we have no age limit. I don't know, our oldest student was 70, I think. So, I mean, we're open to anyone. We just want to help them accomplish their goals, whatever that is. So, yeah, no age limit. So this is just a little example of what we do with them. If they're a first year student or first year coming into our program, we do assign them to a peer mentor, or they choose their peer mentor actually, and then they have monthly check-ins. So every month they're required to come in and see us or engage in some way. And then for the continuing students, we keep on them as well. So basically, we're always trying to keep them up to date with deadlines, especially like withdrawal deadlines, registrations coming up. Like right now it's registration. We're constantly on them to remind them, did you register yet? FAFSA, did you do FAFSA for next year? We keep track of all of this so we know where every student is in terms of their progression towards their goals. And then I mentioned the Native Hawaiian tuition waiver. So it is due May 31st. It's late. It's a late application on purpose because we know a lot of students procrastinate. They have all the other Native Hawaiian scholarships like Nahu Okama and Alulike, everything's earlier. So they still have an opportunity to apply for this. I'll give Sheldon the PowerPoint, so the link is there where they can apply. They have all the way till May 31st. So please encourage them to apply. This is the eligibility. They must be at Kapi olani. They must indicate that they're of Hawaiian ancestry on the UH Common application. So that means it's self-declared. We do not check verification. Like we don't check their birth certificate or their native, their Kamehameha Ho'ulu scholars, registry or OHA. So it's basically self-declared Native Hawaiian. They have to have financial need through FAFSA. So they also have to have completed their FAFSA. And then the application has a few questions based on their transition, which for high school students would be their transition from high school to college, and then their service in the community, just to kind of weigh what they've done or their views about servicing the community. And then this is just a little chart of how a student would go through, because we're not just a first year experience program, we're a complete program to help the Native Hawaiian student from start to finish. So there's typical things here in the first year that we kind of went over. I want to switch to second year, because in the second year, there are other opportunities. Like for instance, Luna Lilo, like Lavashe said, is a one-year program. So what we do is we transition her students who were part Hawaiian from Luna Lilo to Kapo oloku. So they'll be in our program from here on out. And then we also have like a sub-grant for CTE students, Native Hawaiian CTE students. So if students are in any of the career technical ed fields, like culinary, pre-health, like they're trying to get into our health programs, hospitality, etc., they will be transitioned to this program called Kapi olani, which has some other supports for them in terms of internship support, licensure exams, certifications, things like that. And then we have our graduation and transfer, which obviously is our it's kind of our third year, 2.5, 2.5, right, depending on how quickly they go through. So we want to make sure all their graduation and transfer requirements are complete as well, because there's a whole lot of things that have to be done that year to make that transition smooth as well. Back to Kiara.
Okay, so another important one that we, core value that we stress is ohana, which is family. And we established that through our program and Hui system. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about our peer mentoring and like how that works. So you can go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. So originally as I said, I was a peer mentor for about 4 years. So when I first started, the program was fairly new. So we're just kind of trying to figure out how to run the program more efficiently. So every peer mentor at that time had a caseload of about, I don't know, 30 or so students. And it was just one peer mentor for all of those students. And it was just by alphabetical order. So it wasn't really a specific, like they chose us like how they do now. So it wasn't as effective as how it's run now. So now what we wanted to do with the Hui structures was to be able to reach more students. So we figure if we group peer mentors into pairs or into like groups of 3 or so, then we can reach more students. We can be assigned first year students. So as this shows, if there were 30 first year students, say, then each peer mentor could have 10 students rather than having all 30 and trying to like figure out how to communicate with them. This way it's more effective and we get to know the students way better and it's more personalized, I feel. And then those first year students become our continuing students the following semester. And so that way we already have that relationship established and it makes it a little bit more comfortable for the students to come to us and easier for our peers to know the students personally. So we ended up with 4 Huis, as you can see here, and it just enabled us to reach a lot more students and to become more personable with them. And they kind of reached out more and we saw that the communication between peers and students was way more effective and students were coming in and they felt comfortable talking to the peers. So it turned out to be a really good thing.
I think one of the things I didn't mention earlier is that we have typically 800 to 1,000 Native Hawaiian students enrolled at Kapi olani a semester. So when I was tasked with being the coordinator for this program, there was just me, that's it. And I was like, that is like impossible, right? So how are we gonna do that? You know, bringing in obviously peer mentorship as a best practice for students, but also for Hawaiians wanting to build those relationships and really feeling that they're being taken care of. I think the Hui system allowed that because it also wasn't one person, like the students like, oh, I only got to get to talk to Kara, but now I actually get to talk to this whole bunch of students. So it kind of allowed them to feel just more comfortable in general with the whole group and knowing that they would just be taken care of even if they came in the office and their peer mentor wasn't there, because it got a little, it felt limiting like at that point, I think, yeah. So this is the how we service students, and at NSO3, the students actually opt into one of these. So as the peer mentors are presenting at the Ho'opili NSO3, the peer mentors are sharing a little bit about themselves. You can see their personalities, you can see their majors, And then at the end of the session, the student actually chooses, like, I want to be in kupa'a. Like, I really like how Kiara is. She's a hula dancer. I'm a hula dancer. I think I want to be in that hui with her. Or, yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is that we actually created the huis, so we kind of gave it an identity. So behind each hui is a certain value or something that we want to pass along to our students. So for example, as you can see, I was in kupa'a. So we created kupa'a and we wanted to be, what that means is like steadfast and firm. So that's what we wanted to portray to our students. So we kind of pitched that as well at NSO3, and sometimes students connect to that. We just try to give them a bunch of things to try and connect to, if it's the hui or if it's one of us for whatever reason. We just want them to feel connected to whoever they're choosing.
Yeah. And it made it much more effective for them to start building relationships because it was an opt-in versus an assignment, right? So
yeah.
So we really, our goal is really just to make them feel comfortable so that they will come back at any point in their journey to get support from us. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, trying to see how effective we were. It was interesting because the first couple of years we kind of just went blind and we're like, we just want to do it. And then finally I ran data and I was like, oh my gosh, it's working. So basically this bar graph shows, and there's some missing data that I don't have from the campus, but the first bar would be Kapi olani students' percentage of re-enrollment from fall to spring. The middle bar is all Native Hawaiian students. So those are all, the whole total, that's because not everyone's in Kapo oloku. And then the last bar would be the Kapo oloku students. So as you can see, we've been higher than even the whole entire Kapi olani student body in our re-enrollment. This is just one of the measures we look at, but I'm just wanting to show how effective it has been with, I think, the intrusive intervention, them really bothering them and telling them, okay, it's time to register, come in, we're gonna help you. So we're not really asking if they need help anymore. We're really just saying, we are here to help you, come, and we're going to help you. So that's kind of how we structure everything. And I believe that's the end. Some of our graduates. So yeah, any questions? I'm gonna leave that picture, but here's our contact info. I do have a support staff, Sky. She's out on maternity, so that's why Kiara stepped in, but here's our contact info.
Thank you so much. Any questions out there? Kind of like the comment I threw up in the chat box. We like to keep our students very busy over the summer. And so I think for all of us, the term summer break means nothing to us because there's no break. We're busy because we want to keep the momentum going.
Yes.
And
even the peer mentors, they know like summer is not, but it's like the hardest working time for us. So
it totally is.
Yeah.
It totally is.
Okay, sorry. How do I get out of here, Shell? Stop sharing.
So Eileen has a question.
Yes.
Have you had any students have to change their huis, and what is the reason? Did anyone switch out?
No. Kiara?
No.
I don't think
No,
so.
we've had people opt out of the program in general, maybe if it just wasn't for them. But as far as huis, I'm pretty sure, if anything, all students kind of float depending on who, like when they come in, who's working. And we saw that they're pretty comfortable with us. The only thing that huis really do is the reach out. So they're the ones that are in charge of letting the students know all the information they need to know, and any announcements. But other than that, they're kind of free to talk to any peer mentor. It's just, yeah, not that I know of that anyone left, so.
And it's kind of funny because they do, like, I always ask them, what's your peer mentor's name? And they never know. And then they say, what's your hui? And then I'm like, okay. So they do identify with the hui a little bit more than actually the person. So that is actually helpful because then it allows us to serve them. Like, let's say Kiara quit, like, well, we have people quit or like come in all the time. So if they do that, then we can still serve them, right? So that's a benefit as well.
So it sounds like the hui kind of serves as an anchor. So it's not like they're locked into a group. It's just that, like you said, I know my hui's name. So it's just like this thing I can relate to as I try to branch out and explore.
Yeah, and then their schedules, right? Because the peer mentors, their own work schedules don't always match up with the students. So if the student comes in for assistance and Kiara's not there, they're still getting help. So they just learn. it was kind of more for, like Kiara said, the outreach, like they're assigned. So if I want to ask about, you know, Jane Doe, and I know she's in Kiara's Hui, Kiara should know everything about that person, because the other person, the other peer mentor working with her should communicate with Kiara and say, oh, I met with so-and-so yesterday. She told me this. So Kiara still, that's her kuleana actually still.
Yeah, the only thing maybe that relates is the scheduling was really big. So they do choose a Hui in the beginning, but if the time schedules don't match out, and they schedule their first appointment with a different peer, then they would kind of switch to that Hui just because the times never match up, because we assume that when they make that appointment, that's when they're free. So we kind of put them into that Hui. Of course, we ask them if that's okay, but that's the only time, I think.
That's true, yeah. But with 3 people in a Hui, it was more likely that they could get someone at least in their Hui.
Right.
Awesome. Great question. Yes, they're all awesome. Any other questions?
Oh, we did it. We thought we were going to make half an hour.
Well, thank you to you both. And thank you so much. And yes, once I get their PowerPoint, I'll definitely post it on our site for you folks to view and share with your colleagues. But thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.